Friends, David Paulides, CanAm Missing Project. And this is Huck. Yes, the infamous Huck L. Berry. And she's the executive producer of the show. She's very cocky. She knows she's special. She knows she's daddy's little girl, huh? Yeah. You like that, don't you? Oh, you're a good girl. That's a good girl. A good girl. You stay here and you be a good girl. I don't want you snoring in the videos. That's just rude. All right. We got a special kind of show for you today. Different. Thought I'd change it up a little bit. And I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of hate for it, but that's all what it's about. First of all, I posted something on YouTube yesterday. I'm sorry, something on X, which is Twitter. And it's from the Daily Mail in Europe. And the title of it is, it was originally put up on the Daily Mail on April 28th. I put it up yesterday. It says, UFO expert claims aliens are murdering innocent people. And the man who said this is what the article looks like. The man who said this is probably the most widely recognized expert on UFOs in the world. Jacques Vallée. I'm not going to read you all of it, but I'll read you some of it. One of the world's most revered UFO expert claims that beings behind UFO phenomena are just not observing us, but are in fact killing innocent people. Jacques Vallée, a man whose 6-decade career has put him in the epicenter of every serious UFO debate, is sounding the alarm. I can tell you that in my files, some of which I contributed to the databases of, that there are at least half a dozen well-documented cases where the injuries that resulted in death were deliberate, Vallée said. According to Vallée, chilling warnings that humanity has long brushed off as the stuff of science fiction are real, and governments have known about them for years. In a stunning and unsettling disclosure, Vallée revealed that the files he personally helped assemble while working on a secret Pentagon-linked UFO study include evidence of human deaths caused deliberately by encounters with UFOs. The files were pulled together in the Advanced Aerospace Weapons Systems Applications Program. Vallée, the man who first proposed that UFOs might originate from other realities rather than distant planets, insists his warning is not speculative hysteria. Indeed, Vallée is no fringe figure. He is the scientist who advised the U.S. government, contributed to seminal investigations like Project Blue Book, and inspired French researcher character in Steven Spielberg's Close Encounter of a Third Kind. This is why I'm telling you this, folks. This is why I'm telling you this. You see this map right here? This is my cluster map of the USA and southern Canada that I sell on my site to you, to anybody. You can go to NA, like North America, nabigfootsearch.com, and you can get the map. Why is this important? Colm Kelleher, who was the chief investigator at Skinwalker Ranch, asked me if he could have 6 copies of this, and he passed them out to his science advisory team, which Vallée was on. Now, if you watched Missing 411, the UFO Connection, you know of another case that Vallée could have referred to where somebody actually came back alive. But remember, he was dropped on the side of a hill, injured his shoulder, and rolled downhill. How many of these cases exist? That is the million-dollar question. Now, in this episode, I'm going to do some things a little differently. We're going to talk about missing people for sure. But Vallee's article goes to the heart of what I've told you in Missing 411, the UFO connection. Piecing the pieces together is critical if you do it factually with credibility. Now, I blew this up just for you. This is an article in Saga magazine written by John Keel, who was an outstanding researcher. Saga magazine, volume 3, 1972, UFOs and a Mysterious Wave of Worldwide Kidnappings. Whoa! What are we talking about here, folks? Jeez, maybe Dave's onto something. Every time, I'm going to read you some of this. Every time there is a flying saucer flap, people by the hundreds, particularly youngsters, literally vanish from the face of the earth. From remote northern Eskimo villages to population-packed Japanese cities, the reports flood in of their sudden disappearance. And, just as strangely, some of them reappear weeks and months later, thousands of miles from home, not knowing their own names or where they've been. Early in December 1969, children began to disappear in the city of Vila Velha in Brazil. And what started as a minor mystery soon exploded into a frightening kidnapping epidemic. Within a few weeks, scores of youngsters, all between the ages of 9 and 15, and all from very poor families, which eliminated ransom as a motive, vanished without a trace. Police in the state of Espírito Santo began a massive search for a sinister kidnapping ring, but they had no leads. The disappearances seemed random, were not ordinary runaways, and none of the children knew each other or went to the same school. Then, in February of 1970, 4 of the missing youngsters reappeared separately. 2 were found stumbling about the streets, blindly suffering from amnesia. Amnesia? Gee, I've heard about that someplace before. Oh, that's right, it's a profile point. Although the other 2 were able to remember who they were and fragments of what happened, their story were as bizarre as a science fiction tale. They each had been stopped on the street, they said, and were offered a ride in a large American-style limousine. A hard-to-resist treat for a poor Brazilian youngster. Once in the car, they were given a cigarette, which was apparently drugged for as they lapsed into unconsciousness. One returnee recalled that he awoke in a small hut, tied hand and foot, and that a stranger finally entered freedom and told him how to find the nearest police station. An 11-year-old girl named Vanny told her kidnapper was a woman named Laura. Laura fed her sweets and then took her to a field where an airplane was waiting. But when Vanny began to scream and fuss, Laura gave her some money, returned her to her village. Most of the victims were boys, although a few girls were included. Once the kidnapping wave began to receive publicity, several youths who had heard of it had escaped, fleeing in the big cars, their mysterious occupants, when they were ordered lifts. Brazilian correspondent Eduardo Keffel reported in the German magazine Die Bunte that the police were speculating that a slavery ring was operating in the area, but the possibility exists that saucer men may have been the culprits. Now, why did I read you that? For a multitude of reasons. First of all, our own government has been pointed out in many of these UFO hearings as possibly being involved in the kidnapping of our own people, and maybe even the people in Brazil. Because of the limited use of technology in that story I just read to you, it is always possible that our government is involved. And if they played some role in the kidnapping of our own people and their disappearance, because now they could use very high-level technology. Remember in the UFO connection where that craft went over the elk, picked it up, and took it away? There's rumors we have that technology as well. Now, if we did, think about how easy it would take to get a person off the trail, especially one who's alone. Very simple. Well, we have to keep an open mind in investigations. Personally, I've been attacked baselessly, wrongly, for posting facts about missing people. Now, who else would attack me if it wasn't an organized effort by our own government to shut me down? Think about that. I've been told this and pulled aside at conferences many times, saying, Dave, you better be careful. Dave, you know, they're going to organize against you soon. And they have already. But the reality is that there's so many people like you that have supported my efforts. Maybe they're afraid to do something. I don't know. But John Keel was a brilliant researcher. And him coming out in Saga magazine and talking about that specifically, if it was happening then, there's a good chance it's happening now. Now, there's a lot of people who have been abducted who say they have near-death experiences. They're on a craft, a UFO. They're unconscious and they feel their soul leaving their body and it's looking back down at the body. A woman sent me a couple paragraph email not too long ago. And she said, you know, I don't want to waste your time, but something really strange to me happened to me in a ski resort in Australia. If you're interested, I'll tell you. If not, I don't want to bug you. Now that's the kind of story to me that sounds extremely credible right at the beginning, because she's not trying to push anything on me. I wanted to hear about it. Here's the story. I was skiing with my sister when I was hit from behind by an inexperienced snowboarder at a ski resort in Australia. The impact of the hit threw my face onto some adjoining rocks on the side of the mountain. It must have been late in the season, rocks starting to show up. I remember the impact and heading face first into a wall of rock, and from there, everything changed. I then remember looking down in curiosity as to what I was looking at. I saw a body laying on the ground with people kneeling beside it. And on the left-hand side, near the person's knee, I recognized my sister. And from where I was seeing all this was a beautiful light surrounding me. I was buoyant, weightless, in this most beautifully quiet and calm place. And I'm curious in a very peaceful way, nearly tilting my head in curiosity. I could see people talking and rushing, and then I realized it was me. Next, I remember on my left side, Jesus was beside me, looking with me. He looks at me and tells me I have to go back. I look back at him and say, I don't want to. This is all telepathic, no speaking, just this feeling of completely being surrounded by love, light, and peacefulness, and I felt like I had to come home. We continued to watch below, and a man is now kneeling beside me on my right side now, and he was trying to get me to breathe. Lots of people all around now looking. It's sort of all happening in the background now. Jesus is then looking at me. I will never forget his beautiful face and eyes, and said, I had to go back because I had work to do. Next, I remember lying in my body, unable to move, then an almighty jerk in my body, and I took a breath. My shoulders and my chest leapt upwards off the ground. Then I heard people gasping and saying, she's alive, she's breathing. Next, the man on my right told everyone to stand away, stand back, give her space. I felt very peaceful and unaffected by it all, as I was helped to my feet, sore and stiff. I've never been the same since. I can see people's and animals' pain, their auras, the organs in their bodies. I connect to other vibrations and worlds who are existing in them. When I'm visiting places around the world, past spirits connect with me with messages for a certain person. Channeling is common. Sometimes I'm dealing with a group of spirits. One time, a group told me they were in a plane crash and needed help. Another time, a soldier came to me who had died in action. I gave a message to his friend who was sitting next to us at the time. I was later told they served in the Special Forces together just after 9/11. They were one of the first response forces to head out. This is my work here on Earth, and I am back here specifically to be who I am now. This is why I find your program so compelling, because I know the complexities of our lives here and wish to help. It's literally my life now. As the saying goes, the teacher arrives when the student is ready. I was ready. P.S. I went to the hospital after my incident and suffered a fractured spine and concussion. It took me approximately 12 months to be able to walk normal. Wow. Wow. So, I remember back when I was a policeman. And many times if somebody was in super critical condition, if they were a suspect or a victim, we would have a policeman go in the ambulance sometimes, get a last statement from them before they died. It's considered fact in court if a person is on the verge of dying and you tell them, hey, you may not live till you get to the hospital, but tell us what happened, that statement is considered fact in court. There were several times where I met people who were on the verge of death. They ended up going into surgery, being saved, and then later, when I would interview them, they would tell me a very similar story. There was a book I read, and I don't remember where I read this. It was about an emergency room physician who did surgery. And there were, around the room, there were cabinets. And on the top of the cabinets, he put different things, like a rose, a flower, a race car, whatever. Because he had people say that they floated up to the ceiling in the room and they were looking down. And he would ask them, well, what did you see on the cabinets? And to his shock and dismay, they knew. Now, how could that be? If you truly didn't rise from your body and get above the table where you were laying on, and we're looking at the cabinets and they had these pictures on top, how would you ever know unless you did that? And then the real question is, what is that? What part of your body is that? Is that your soul that's leaving? Some people would say your spirit. But then what's the grip that pulls you back down? Now this lady says it was Jesus. Your work's not done yet. To me, that's interesting. That means that whoever sent us here, however we got here, we were given tasks, goals, and objectives. And I can guarantee that if that is true, they didn't give you a goal and objective to sit in your room 12 hours a day and watch TV and YouTube. I guarantee they didn't do that. You need to go out and find your passion. You need to get out in the world. I don't care how sick you are. I know some people say, I just couldn't do it. Well, other people have found a way. I realize that there are people who can't. You don't need to sing that song to me. I got that. But there's a lot of people who don't want to. And those people I don't have a lot of compassion for. You need to go out and find what your mission is in this life. Because I tend to think we all do. Talk about search and rescue for a second. One thing search and rescue people do not have a lot of patience for is for people who don't learn from their past mistakes. are people who almost purposely get themselves in a bad situation, and then rescuers have to go out and risk their lives to save you. This is an absolute recent story that blew my mind. Yahoo News, April 28th. Man rescued from Mount Fuji twice in 1 week. Twice. A man in his 20s was airlifted from Japan's Mount Fuji, then rescued again from its steep slopes just days later because he returned to find his phone, according to media reports. Oh my gosh. They should have charged him. Charged him for the search and rescue. Police told AFP the Chinese university student who lives in Japan was found Saturday by another off-season hiker on a trail more than 3,000 meters, 9,800 feet above sea level. He was suspected of having altitude sickness and was taken to a hospital, a police spokesman in Shizuoka region said on Monday. Later, officers discovered the man was the same one who had been rescued on Mount Fuji 4 days earlier. Private broadcaster TBS and other media outlets had reported this. Police could not immediately confirm the reports, which said the man, having been rescued by helicopter on Tuesday, returned on Friday to retrieve his mobile phone, which he forgot to bring with him down with the rescue. It was not known whether he was able to find his phone in the end, said the reports, citing unnamed sources. Mount Fuji is an active volcano, and Japan's highest peak is covered in snow for most of the year. Its hiking trails are open from early July to early September, a period when crowds trudge up the steep rocky slopes through the night to see the sunrise. People are dissuaded from hiking outside of the summer season because conditions can be treacherous. The symmetrical 3,776 meter mountain has been immortalized in countless artworks for 300 years. In a bid to prevent overcrowding on Mount Fuji, authorities last year brought in an entry fee and cap on numbers for the most popular Yoshida Trail. Starting this summer, hikers on any of Mount Fuji's 4 main trails will be charged an entry fee of 4,000 yen. 4,000 yen? That's $27. In the United States, it's like 95% of all the jurisdictions will not charge you for a search and rescue. And I think it's the same way in most countries. The reason being is that they know if they charge, that some people will be in a life and death scenario, make a bad decision, oh, I don't want to pay for this, and then because they don't want to pay, they die on the slopes. So that generally doesn't do that. Somebody who isn't the sharpest knife in the drawer, like this university student, they need to learn a lesson from that. Because there are people that risk their lives to go get them. A phone can be replaced. Come on. I don't get it. So, a couple weeks ago, I did a story about an Irish farmer that disappeared. And it was a Kerry farmer, a man named Michael Gain. Now, Michael inherited a big family farm. Super hard worker, a man of routine. He would go into town in the morning, get a muffin or something to eat, coffee, drive his car back, work the farm, took care of his livestock. Done this for decades. Married, no kids. Just a very hardworking guy who helped a lot of people along the way. If anybody ever needed help, everyone said Mike would drop everything and come to their aid. Kindness, something we talk about here. Mike was that kind of guy. He didn't have anything negative in his past, just known as a hard worker. Well, this story came out today, and I'll explain it to you. I'm sorry, not today, on April 29th. The investigation into the disappearance of a County Kerry farmer has been reclassified as a homicide investigation. Michael Gain, a 56-year-old sheep and cattle farmer, was reported missing from his home near Kenmare on Friday, the 21st of March. He was last seen in the Kenmare town the previous day. He lived in the remote Carrig East area close to Molly Gap, a beauty spot along the renowned Ring of Kerry. Mr. Gain's remains have not been located, despite extensive searches being carried out by the Garda. However, a formal criminal investigation now has begun, the police have confirmed. Mr. Gain bought phone credit at a local shop just before 10 o'clock local time on March 20th and drove away from town shortly afterwards. His vehicle was found parked on his remote farm, but he could not be found. Mr. Gain's disappearance prompted one of the biggest missing person searches in Ireland in recent memory. Searchers have been concentrated around one of Ireland's leading areas of outstanding natural beauty. The area around his farmyard was cordoned off by Garda. Shortly after his disappearance, Mr. Gain's vehicle was taken away for forensic tests. Several nearby lakes and quarries have been searched, and the Irish Army has been eventually called in to help with the searches along with the rugged mountainous area around the farm. Mr. Gain's home is a short distance away from the farm. There have also been detailed searches along the local scenic roads in the Ring of Kerry. Teams from the Irish Defence Forces have been deployed in to search wooded and marsh areas. The Gardaí have been used for the Gardaí Water Unit to search water sources. Since he was reported missing, the Gardaí have made more than 320 formal inquiries, taken nearly 130 witness statements, and recovered approximately 2,200 hours of CCTV and dashcam footage. Based on the entirety of the information available at the investigation team at the Killarney Garda station, Garda issued a statement on Tuesday saying the missing persons investigation was now a homicide. Garda said they will continue to keep the Gaines family fully informed about the investigation. Appeal for information. The police are appealing for anyone who may have information about what happened to Mr. Gain. Now, why would they do that? Here's why. Homicide investigative teams are much more experienced, have much more resources, bigger budgets, etc., than a missing person unit. Missing person units sometimes have hundreds of cases. Once it goes there, it goes into a barrel and it may not be seen for years. Homicide investigative teams, it's much more urgent. It's something that sits in front of them every day. There's a lot of pressure to clear those. I'm actually glad to see any time a missing person case goes to homicide. The reality is there's probably no physical evidence they have now that'll push it that way. But then again, they took his car. They never said what they found. They never said what forensics found. So who knows? But I'm glad to see that Mike's case went to homicide. Now, a missing persons case. And again, this segment, I'm just doing it different. Change it up a little. Some of you may say, oh, it sucks. Others will say, oh, I kind of liked it. Well, let's see what you think. This missing persons case happened in a town called Browning. Browning is about 70 miles east of where I live in Montana. It's over the Continental Divide, right near Glacier National Park's eastern entrance. Browning, predominantly a Native American community. Ashley Loring Heavyrunner wanted to help find missing Indigenous women. Then she disappeared. Ashley Loring disappeared from the Blackfeet Indian Reservation in Montana on June 5th, 2017. They're talking about Browning. Of the 89,637 active missing person case on the FBI National Crime Information Center database, 1,500 are American Indian and Alaska Native people. but the count could be far higher based on tracking by the Sovereign Bodies Institute of Nonprofit Research. Heavyrunner 20 was known for her big heart, positive attitude, and her desire to help those in need. When she learned about the epidemic of missing and murdered Indigenous women in Canada, she wanted to bring interest to their plight. She was telling me, "Sis, these girls are going missing in Canada and something's happening to them. I want to help," recounts her sister, Kim, 27. A few months later, Ashley, a member of the Montana Blackfeet Indian Reservation, disappeared herself. On June 5, 2017, she stopped by her parents' house and was later seen at a party. Days later, when her family couldn't reach her, they grew concerned. She was known for losing phones all the time, and her phones were broken, says Kimberly. So we thought that could have been the case. At the time of her disappearance, the college student who grew up on a ranch and loved to dress country chic was planning to move to Missoula to live with Kimberly and attend the University of Montana. "Something terrible happened to my sister," Kim says. "She was so friendly and so willing to trust people, and that's why I believe that Ashley was taken advantage of and was hurt because of the person that she is." Her family has shared the story. Her family has shared the story from the Rocky Mountains to the halls of Congress, where Kimberly testified in 2018 before the Indian Affairs Committee about her belief that her family was ignored by many agencies on the case, from tribal police to FBI. Kimberly worked for the Up and Vanished True Crime podcast and has herself searched the wilderness for her sister. "We won't give up looking for her," she says. "Someone in the community knows where she's at." Ashley's case is not unique, says Kimberly. "It's the very same as thousands of other families that are going through the same thing throughout Indian country." True. Now, I have written about missing Native American women and men and babies. In general, 98% of all of the missing Indigenous people are related to two things: drugs and alcohol. It's horrible. Just a fact of life. It's horrible on the reservation. True fact. I was listening to a radio show not too long ago, and the former head of the DEA in Montana said that cartel members know that there are single Native American women on the reservation that want support. Cartel members have money. They specifically look for these women and move in with them. Why, Dave? Here's why. Tribal lands are not patrolled by the county sheriff or the state police or the state drug enforcement bureau. Only tribal police. Tribal police are grossly underfunded. Law enforcement on tribal lands is horrific. Cartel members know that they can get away with things. So the cartels have moved into areas of Montana on Native American land. That's where they make their base of operations, and then they go out and they sell to other communities under the guise of living with a Native American woman. This is widely known around all of North America's reservations. It's happening right now. So when these people go to, just like Ashley, when she goes to a party, she may think that these people are just nice Hispanic men. In reality, they're sick-born killers, pushing fentanyl, pushing poison on their tribe. And until the administration in those tribal units, and I'm not talking about tribal police, I'm talking about the upper echelons of the tribe, until they get it out of their system that they want strong law enforcement, these areas are going to continue to be victimized. So, again, this is Ashley. This is an FBI wanted poster on her. A very nice girl trying to help people disappeared. I know very little about the story. There's very little out there. Very little. I'm not saying it's a 411 case, but I'm saying it's something that we ought to know about. I'm very upset about it. This is so odd. The other day, I'm seeing helicopters fly by my house and police all going towards Whitefish Lake, and I thought, well, maybe it's a little early, but maybe there's a boating accident or something on the lake. I don't know. Well, here's the story. Missing person found after traveling 14 miles in an area north of Whitefish. Flathead County Search and Rescue and North Valley Search and Rescue found a missing person 14 miles from their last known location after an extensive weekend search. Searchers responded to Star Meadows Ranch. Star Meadows Ranch, north of Whitefish. Pretty remote area out there. Early Saturday morning. The person had been missing since mid-afternoon Friday and was reportedly not dressed for the weather. Again, no details about why the delay in reporting, who the person is, or who reported him missing. But there's a point to the story. 2 search organizations, dog teams, multiple foot searchers, side-by-sides, and drones were used to locate the missing person. The search lasted until the mid-morning hours of Saturday. The person was suffering from mild hypothermia when located. Flathead Search and Rescue posted on social media the following, and you've heard this from me. In a situation like this, 95% of the missing people who walked away are found within approximately a 2-mile radius of their last known location. Giddy up. However, this person was found well outside the search area after he had traveled 14 miles. Luckily, he was only suffering from mild hypothermia. Early Saturday morning, FC Flathead County Search and Rescue was dispatched to the area near the Star Meadows Ranch, north of Whitefish, for a missing person. Subject been missing since Friday. Search and Rescue utilized multiple resources to find the individual. He was located. Fine shape. Why did I tell you that? You guys are smart. Why did I read you that story? He's found 14 miles away. Now, I did a little bit of follow-up on this story. There's a post on Facebook talking about the search, and a woman says, "Oh, that was my son." I looked all over, and there's no information about her son or the age of her son. But I'm glad I didn't know about the story while it was going on. Here's why. That area north of Whitefish Lake, there have been, in recent past, attacks by grizzly bears on people in that area. Yeah. And the grizzly bears are out right now, and they're hungry. Whoever that individual was one lucky soul. Number one, because the weather was really good Saturday out here. It was like 65 degrees. But the other reason is that a bear didn't track him down. But I'd like to hear how Search and Rescue found him 14 miles away. But there's no details. So that's the show for today, folks. Did you like it? Did you not? Oh, there's going to be some haters that are just going to rip me. But it was we're not going to do this very often. But I just want to change it up a little bit. Give you something to think about. Some perspective on how I think. And how what we're doing here today may be very valuable on how others think around us. Namely, the map I told you about that I gave away to other researchers. So I know I'm doing the right thing. I know that other people are concerned. I appreciate you very much. Remember, kindness. The kindness revolution. Doesn't cost anything to be nice. So, be careful. Be kind. Love your animals. Huck knows I love her. She's been laying there half asleep the time. You guys take care. Paulides out.